All right, so now we're going to set up the animations. So first off, we need to set this up so that we can handle it. So we're going to go into the character blueprint, the CBP, and let's see. I'm just going to find references. Because I don't know exactly what all he did to this. Okay, he's still using this. So we're going to create another, and I might refactor this too, by the way. Guys, this is just a temporary setup. So we're going to get the torch mesh, and we're going to, oh, it needs a skeletal mesh. Okay. We could make these skeletal meshes, but I don't have that plugin enabled. Or we could just easily make this a skeletal mesh. So I'll tell you what, until I fix that, I'm just gonna do it this way. And some of you might not like it, but until I refactor the way that I'm handling these being attached here, then what I might end up doing is I might end up making a attachable or detachable component that handles this, and then y'all can just remove it. So go into plugins and enable the skeletal mesh editing tools. And I'm just going to, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Oops. Okay. So let me just reopen this because it froze there at the start and I thought it had opened up 2 windows, but it didn't. By the time I realized it was already too late. And it looks like I opened 2 of them. Okay. So one thing y'all should know is that if you do accidentally open up 2 of them and you go to save something, it won't let you save it because you have 2 copies open. So you're going to have to close one of them. So I don't know why this is taking so long, but it is probably because of that. I'm just going to compile and save that. So in case you didn't see it, I just typed in scale and I enabled skeletal mesh editing tools. And now I'm just going to right click and convert to skeletal mesh. And I'm going to change this to origin so that the root bone placement is at the origin of that. Otherwise, it'll offset things. So now I can go back into the character blueprint and I can select this skeletal mesh right here. And under overlay logic, ST overlay data, I'm going to press the back button right here and now it let me add it. So that's how we're going to handle it for now. Now I need to go and I need to modify the overlay state too, so that it has a state here for our torch. And again, I may refactor that at a later date. Let's see. Layering data. That's the overlay state. Weapons, overlay state. Okay, I haven't even put that in a separate folder, so that's fine. I'm going to set that to torch. And if you didn't see, I pressed the add enumerator button. I hope I'm not going too fast for you guys. And then I just changed this to the torch. Compile save. Always good to do that. So actually, we need a button to activate that. So I'm going to open up the event graph, KD weapon logic, and he's set up some enhanced input actions here. So I guess we'll go ahead and set up some input actions too. We'll go to input. And for now, like if you want to do a weapons switching system or whatever, like some games have, that's up to you. But I'm just doing a very basic setup. Actually, I don't need to search for that. It's right here, input action. And it's convention to name it IA underscore and then whatever. So I named it IA underscore torch. We don't have to change anything in that, I don't believe. It's set to digital bull, which is completely fine. We're just triggering this. And under the IMC, this is our input mapping context. We're going to add an entry here, and we're going to set this to the torch. And then I'm just going to press the 3 key here. And so the 3 key will trigger that. And if you have a gamepad, you can add one for the gamepad and press your gamepad button, and or press this and then press a gamepad button and it'll do it. So like I might say Y, for example, just giving you an example. So anyway, we're going to type in IA torch. And you want this one with the arrow pointing to the right, not this one. This one is a pure function. And for right now, I'm just going to put it right here. And he's doing some replication stuff. I'm not going to go into replication in this video, guys. So, but yeah, okay. So he's, I guess, sending a client. Yeah. So on the input action pistol, he's calling this, which executes on the server. It's a client RPC. So we can actually do something like that. That's fine. Let's go ahead and do it. So type in custom, and we'll add a custom event. And we'll call this, let's see, what did he name his? Pistol held server, right? So I'll just call this torch held server. And I will set this to run on server. And we want it to be reliable. And then this we're going to call torch held server. So this is being called by the client, and it's being executed on the server. That's called a client RPC. If you're doing it the other way, server to client, that's called a server RPC. And then this is executed on all. So the server will replicate this automatically to all clients, which, yeah, I guess that makes sense. In this case, that's how you would probably want to handle it, but I think there might be a better way to handle it. I don't know. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it down here. Let's see, right. This is called a multicast, by the way. Yeah, he named his multi. And this will be a multicast, as you can see. And we want it to be reliable as well. And the reason why is because if it's not reliable, that means it's allowed to misfire. And that's okay if you're doing something very rapidly. Then you probably don't want it to be reliable if it's happening at a fast pace. But if it's something that needs to be 100% reliable, then yes, it needs to be set to reliable. And so the server will then execute the multicast, which will then execute this across all the clients. That should be good. So we've set up our overlay state. We've set up our input action. It should be getting switched now. We can actually test that real quick and see if it'll let me minimize it. So I'm just going to press play, and I want to press 3, and you'll see it's in the right hand. So actually it looks like I'm going to have to rename this to held object right, and I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call this one left, and I'm going to attach this one to the weapon L bone. And so we want to replace this by dragging over it. So if you drag over the text, it won't do it. So drag over the edge of it, and it'll replace it. And so this one is attached to the weapon R. This one is attached to the weapon L. And I'm not sure why we're doing this, actually, to be honest with you. I don't remember. So now, yeah, that's fine. So the overlay state is torch. And if you do this, it'll show you where this is at across all. So it looks like we're not even using those, so I don't know why they're there. It must have been something he added. So what we're going to do is whenever this overlay state changes to this one here on our animation blueprint, we need to create a new state, and we need to have it switch to that state. So if we look for our overlay states right here on the anim graph, it's at the very edge over here. If we come inside of here, in our ready state, we have pistol armed, and I might rename those to pistol ready and rifle ready. So if you want to rename them, you can go ahead and rename them. I think it makes more sense for them to be called ready, for it to be saying ready, not armed. I might just go ahead and rename those. And really, we don't need these to be in animation layers. I just did that to keep it a little cleaner. And this one's going to be called torch ready. I'm just going to drag it into there, but it's not going to let me. I'm going to have to come over here to the groups and select ready state, and it puts it under there. And now I'm going to create another one and call it torch aiming. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I did do mine backwards. Sorry about that, guys. So we're going to put this in the aiming state. I think we're going to have to modify that torch sweep. So for the, yeah, and this is still showing that, so we need to set it to pistol ready and rifle ready. And now it should, yeah, there we go. And we can right click on here and select add pin for element torch. And now we have one for the torch. And I'm just going to set this to 0.2 like I have the other ones. And I'm going to drag this out here. And I'm going to add it into here. And I'm just going to copy this. Actually, I'm changing the pose right here of the pistol ready based off of, yeah, I guess that makes sense. We'll do the same thing. I'll just copy and paste that over here. And let me just check these. So 000, that's the 000 pose with his arm by his side. And I'm kind of blending between these two based off of speed. So if he, well, I'm blending between these when he should or shouldn't move, and this based off of speed. So when he should be moving, we'll be playing this one right here, which will be this. And the difference is just a slight offset on the legs, as you can see. But you want the legs to be neutral whenever we're moving, because if not, what happens is if the foot is off to the side right here, then when he starts running, his foot will be off to the side as well. And that's if you're layering the legs. Right now, I don't really have it set up for legs, because for this, the way the motion matching system is kind of set up, it will cause problems, and I'll go into that in a later video. But for now, just trust me, it will cause problems. So this right here, point 11, it has his pistol aiming up like that, and I just thought that looked more interesting. So we're going to get our torch poses under characters, UEFN, animations, ALS poses, and torch. And we're going to drag this out here. I'm going to open it up because I didn't set this interpolation to linear. If you don't, you see what it's doing. It's linearly interpolating between them. You don't want that, so set it to step. And we have this and this. So we'll do something, I guess we'll do it the same. And when he's running, I guess we'll do 0.11 as well. You don't want 0.07 because the feet are not in a neutral pose. So use 0.11. So we're basically going to do the same thing. This is the torch ready, and I'm going to leave that explicit time as is. And I'm just going to press this back button here on all of these. And there we go. And I can actually delete that. Now, the pistol aiming I handled a little differently than the rifle aiming, I think. But I'm just going to copy this over to the torch aiming. So on this one, in case you guys didn't know, on this, you want to use a constant. You want these keys to be constant on this curve. If they're not constant, then it'll interpolate between frames, and you don't actually want that. So for the poses, since you have multiple poses in here, and you need different settings for the hand-eye K on each one of them, you want these to be constant. So moving on, 0.18, that's this one where he's aiming. And he's doing that when he should be moving. And then I'm additively applying this aim sweep. And you'll see that on my aim sweep, I start from looking down and I go to looking up. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to, and I don't know if we can easily do this. So we're going to have to open up this aim sweep, and let's see. I've never tried doing this in here. I can do it in iClone very easily, but I don't know how easily you can do it in here. What we need to do is we need to reverse it, actually. Let's see. That actually works. Okay. And it doesn't look like it caused any problems. So just try that. Hopefully it doesn't cause you any problems. It doesn't seem to have caused me any problems. That's fine. That's what we want. Okay. So now we can replace this with the, and we should probably rename this torch AimSweep. That's fine. And torch poses. That's fine as well. Now we don't need hand IK for this, so we'll leave it disabled. But I do need to replace these. And we'll check those poses, point 14 and point 18. So that's point 18 and this point 14. We don't want that. We want 11 and 8. So 11 when he shouldn't move. I mean 0.8, 0.08 when he shouldn't move. And 0.11 when he should move on your torch aiming. And we'll just go ahead and test that out. It'll probably have some problems. Okay, I don't know what happened. Okay, I'll have to look into that. And it looks like something, yeah. So it doesn't look like it's working, but it actually is. The only reason why it doesn't look like it's working is because we have not yet set things up properly. So let's just see here. It doesn't look like this is even executing. Oh, of course not. Wait, no, it should be executing actually. Something is changing it to something else. So what we need to do is come back into to here, and you'll see that we're actually in the anim graph overlay state. We're in the ready state right now. That's fine. That's correct. And we're in the aiming state now. And we're still in the aiming state. Now let's go in here and see what's happening when we're... Oh, okay. So there you go. We did not add that to this one. That would explain it. So we're going to drag out our torch aiming here. Same thing on this one. Set it to 0.2. I'll have to look into why it's spamming it, but whoa, what's happening there? Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, okay, I know why it's doing that, guys. Don't be alarmed. So it's we did not set, oh, for one, we didn't set this other one. So we need to set both of these aim sweeps to the torch aim sweep. And also, we need to make this a mesh space additive. Mesh space additive. Frame from this animation is going to be frame 15, where he's in the center. And the reason why is because we want the down offset and the up offset to be based off of this central axis. This is how much we want to offset it from this right here. Because whenever he's aiming, his hand is going to be out like this. So now it's actually working properly, but it's not doing anything. And I'll tell you why. That's because we have not set up our data asset for it. And we need to set that up in the chooser. So what we need to do is we need to go back under Blueprints, Weapons, and M9. Go to M9. And we're just going to select all of these, and we're just going to drag them into the torch and say copy here. Don't move them, copy them. We're going to rename these to torch idle, torch rest, torch running aiming, and torch running rest. Now we're going to go back to the weapons folder and open up the layering data, and we are going to add an asset here. Nope, we don't need an asset, sorry. We need this actually to be a nested chooser. And we are going to say new nested chooser, and we're going to name this torch. We're going to edit this. Actually, I'm going to edit this one. And I'm going to try to see if I can copy this by selecting it and pressing Control C. This is still beta or experimental, so it may not actually work. It didn't work, okay. So what we need to do is we need to add 4 of these, 4 assets. Oops, that's 5. You can select it and press delete on your keyboard to remove the extra one. We're going to select the idle rest, the idle aiming, the run rest, and the run aiming. And now we need 2. Well, we need 2. I'm going to account for gate later, so we can add gate as well. But we need the movement state and wants to aim. So we need an enum, and that's going to be movement state right here. And we want the bull wants to aim right here. And idle, idle, moving, moving. Wants to aim is true, true. And we could leave these at any. If you leave them at any, it's not going to evaluate it, I think. So it might actually be a little bit more performance friendly if you leave these at any. But it's up to you. Now we're going to add another enum, and it's going to be gate. And we're going to press this until it says any for now. And that's pretty much it for this. Okay, I left that. Sorry about that, guys. I will fix that. Okay, there we go. And now you'll see when he's running, his arm is way too loose. We're going to fix that. But you'll see that is working as expected. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to open up the running aiming. All right, guys, so I've almost completely got it working now properly. So this is what happened is I forgot to tell you guys to set this to torch. It has to be set to torch. And then on this, these actually do need to be set to false. Otherwise, they'll be evaluated as true before these get evaluated. But you could actually do this because order of operation does matter. And you could drag it like this and do it that way, and I do believe it would still work. Yeah, looks like it's still working. Yeah, okay, so that actually would be more performance friendly to do it that way. So I might redo these to use order of operation. So anyway, so we got our running one fairly stiff. Let's add a little bit of locomotion back into it. So we want it to be less stiff than what it is right now. And in order to do that, we need to add some local space back into it. And so we could try something like 0.25. And now you'll see his hand is moving a little bit more, which looks a bit more natural. Oh, also, I forgot to tell you guys that the input action, if you go back to the input action and you set this to tap, then it'll prevent it from being spammed. And what tap does is it requires you to press and release, and then you can't activate it again for a certain period of time. In this case, 1/5 of a second, which is 0.2. So yeah, I just wanted to cover that. And so now you can see the arm is moving a little bit more naturally, the one on the left. The one on the right is using pure bass. So we're not even playing any overlay on that. As you can see, I set those to 0. So what we do need though is to do it for our resting pose. I don't know why somebody is blowing my phone up right now. Let me mute it. Give me a second. There we go. It's silenced. So we can browse back over here and we can go to the running rest. And let's see. Yeah, that's a lot. So the reason why whenever we're resting and we're doing this, why it's moving so much is because we have a lot of local space movement in here. And so we might want to put this down until it's something like 0.2 as well. And so now you'll see that his arm is moving a little bit less now. So we actually should probably have that in overlay mode since we have the other one in overlay mode. And you could probably create a different or use a different, and I'll show you how to fix that here in a second, the whole thing with it going through his head. But we could actually probably use a different pose for the torch running aiming. So if we should move, we're going to be doing this. That's for the aiming, but we want the resting. I don't know why that dog is barking. Let's see. So for the torch rest, when we're moving and we're resting, we blend 0.9 into B, which is 0.11. That's this pose. But we actually probably want it to be more like this. So we actually don't need that 0.11. We don't need this right here. So actually we could have it something like that. Let me just undo that. I'll show you something if it don't crash. And it crashed. Save often. That's all I can say. I hope I didn't lose anything. And I think that might have been a chooser crash. Give me 1 second. So I'm just gonna close these other ones here. We have too much open. So under the torch ready, we will actually keep this. Let me just make sure this didn't get lost. It's still there. And we still have this too. Good. And we did lose that though. So we're going to put this back at 0.2 on the running rest. And on this, we can actually blend partially into that raised hand one. But what we might do is we might set this, because 0.9 is this. This is 90% this when we're moving over 300. And so what we might do is say 0.5. And let's see how that looks. So it's kind of a blend based off of speed. And I'll have to fix that. But now it's a little bit farther out. It's a blend between the two, and I'll show you what it does. So if I put this down to 0.25, then you'll see what it looks like. So it's like that. And if I say 0.5, then it's like that. So it just adds a little bit of difference to it. But if you just want to disconnect it, that's fine too. And that's what it looks like with it disconnected. So we have to adjust the local space blend for that other one in order to get it to stop doing that thing with the arm. Also, you'll notice the right arm is really stiff during running rest. And that's because we have this, oh, it reset this. So I'm just going to put this back at base. Actually, this needs to be at 1.0. And this can be at 0. There we go. So there's one more we need to adjust and save often, guys. As you've seen, it does crash often. Let me just do this. Idle rest. For idle rest, we want the right arm to be base, and we're going to say 0. And now the arm is moving a little bit more, I think. Let's see. Yeah, that's idle rest right there. It was in aim mode. I'm going to look into that aim thing. I don't know why suddenly it's trying to lock us into an aim. It didn't start doing that until after that KD weapon add-on stuff was included. So this is the idle rest. Now the idle aim, we need to, and yeah, we do have this in local space, full-blown local space. That's good. And for the idle aim, we want that to be 0.8. Now, the thing about doing this in local space, it does offset it. So I'll show you what I mean. That's what it looks like without. But we do have some breathing added over the top of it. So if we go back over, actually we're not adding breathing over the top of this. Interesting. I thought we were. Oh, we're adding it on the state itself. Okay, yeah, ignore that. So the breathing automatically gets layered on top of this. So let's see. idle aiming. So the right arm needs to not be overlay. And I'll set this to 0. And that looks a little bit better. You could do overlay on this, like 0.5 if you wanted. That way it does kind of look like the pose, but it still moves a lot. And you could do something like that as well. 0.5 and 0.5. And so the hand kind of comes out, looks a little different. For this, we might say 0.2. And that's pretty much it. So we do still need to fix the, oh wait. Okay, there's still that problem right there. It's the idle rest. So we can set that back to 0.2. The idle rest is causing that. And it's probably, oh, it's this. So we have that full-blown local space. We want that to be, we don't want that to be in local space for that. I guess, yeah. There we go. All right. And that pretty much sums it up. So we just need to figure out how to fix that. I don't know why it's doing that. So obviously, this is what we're going to do, I guess, for now. Whatever is in the right hand is going to be cleared whenever we equip this. And we'll do the same thing for these as well, just temporarily. Yeah. So I have not fixed this part yet, but on his, well, on those other two input actions, I guess I made these. We don't want that to be pressed. We want it to be tapped. I think I did that. Yeah, so you might just have both of them do that. Until I'll refactor this later, the way I'm handling that trigger, because it's not a very cool mechanic anyway. Yeah, there seems to be some problems. I'll refactor that whole weapon equip logic. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. See you in the next video.